All right, here we go. I'm Scoot, and welcome to the Scoot on the Air YouTube channel. This is the Daily Hit, where we talk about something that's going on today and in the news, and there's just so much going on right now. First of all, last night, the college football championship, Alabama was crushed, embarrassed by Clemson. You see, Clemson lost to Alabama. So they come back this year and they have a real strong incentive to get back at Alabama, and they did. And man, they just took it to the Crimson Tide. There was no rolling tide last night. And so when you think about how physically evenly matched these teams are, and you see how Clemson dominated, it was the emotion. It was what they had in their heart, in their mind. That's what pushed them over the edge. And so as the Saints approach their playoff game this Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles are coming to town. They were embarrassed earlier this season because the Saints routed the Eagles. So are the Eagles going to come to town with an attitude? And then with the idea that they can become one of the first teams in a long time to win back-to-back Super Bowls? Look, even though the game is in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome and the Saints, I think the Saints are going to do well. The Saints have got to be ready. It sounds like the coach and the players understand this. They've had a rest. That's good, but it can also be bad. Sometimes a rest makes you a little complacent. So anyway, I'm hoping the Saints come back. But it's a game that, again, it's a game that must be played. And no matter how much Saints fans want to will the Saints to win, that's not going to do it. They have to play to win. I think they'll win, but expect Philadelphia to give them a tough battle because of the emotional aspect of it. All right, so tonight President Trump is going to go on primetime television from the Oval Office. And he's going to talk to you and me and the Americans about the government shutdown and why it's important. He had to do it. It's not his fault. It's the Democrats' fault because they won't compromise on the funding for the wall. I don't know whether you've noticed, but President Trump is not compromising either. So I find this stalemate between Republicans and Democrats to be laughable. But here's a really interesting thing to think about. Should the networks even give President Trump time tonight to go on the air? In 2014, after a bipartisan immigration bill crashed and burned, President Obama wanted national time, asked for primetime time on the major networks to go on television and make a speech about immigration. The networks said no. Yeah, the networks that so many of you consider to be the liberal media. The network said no to Obama because they said the speech was too political. So this speech tonight is political. President Trump is facing a crisis. He changed his mind about compromising because Republican pundit Ann Coulter and others on Fox News challenged the president for caving. So he changed his mind. So once again, we're reminded that President Trump is getting his policy from TV people on Fox News, which is kind of scary to me. So anyway, this is clearly a political speech tonight. The president I'm assuming, and I don't know, but I'm assuming the president will continue the lies about the 4,000 immigrants who come into this country, I think every day or something like that. Illegal immigrants coming into this country. He has successfully created this false impression that they're just pouring in across the border with Mexico. And they're not. And Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday challenged White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders, and she really didn't have an answer. The illegal immigrants who are coming into this country that are feared to be terrorists or have links to terrorist organizations are coming in through airports, not the southern border. But doing something about the airports, that doesn't fit Trump's promotion of the wall It must be the wall. I've talked about this before. The concept of the wall is catering to the simplistic thinking of Americans. Yeah, the wall's going to do it. The wall's not going to do it. It might help a little. It might help. Yeah, it might. But there are so many other things that could be done. That just the idea of the wall is not going to solve the problem. But that's another story. So should the networks offer Trump time tonight? Maybe not. But they're going to offer it to him, and here's why. Because President Trump means ratings. He's a train wreck. There are people who will watch him because they love him and they would kiss his feet. But the people who hate him will also be watching because they think he's such a buffoon. So taking a chunk out of primetime revenue being taken away from the networks, they did not allow it when Obama wanted to make a speech on immigration in 2014, but they're going to give Trump the time. The difference is Obama didn't attract ratings. Trump does attract ratings. So, as I have said many times in my arguments, that the media in general, now today it's rather balanced, but the major networks have always leaned liberal. And then there's Fox News, and then there's all the thousands of conservative talk show hosts around the country just spewing out right-wing rhetoric. Much of it's not even true or based on conspiracies. So what's interesting is that here we've got Trump attracting this attention. And that's why they're going to put him on TV. And so those who like him are going to watch. Those who don't like him are going to watch too. So as I've argued that, okay, so there may be a left lean to the media, CNN, MSNBC in particular. And of course, Fox News is right propaganda. And they have a right to do that because this is America. But the media is more interested in the story. They're more interested in ratings than even in political ideology. And the liberal media was all over Bill Clinton when it was about Monica Lewinsky because they cared about the story. And this was a story about sex. The story was more important than their political leanings, as is the case tonight with President Trump. The networks will give him time because the attention he will draw to the networks is more important than the networks' collective political agenda. Like it or not, that's reality. News is entertainment. You might not like that. It's not always fun. It's not always funny, but it is entertainment in terms of it being compelling. The goal of the news is to get your attention. And the news will put on what gets your attention. And if the news is designed to attract revenue and ratings, like any other form of entertainment, then why wouldn't the news be governed by the same principles that govern any form of entertainment? Watch tonight. There'll be a lot of fact checking. There'll be a lot of fact checking tonight on President Trump. And I want to remind you, this is the Daily Hit on the Scoot on the Air YouTube channel. We've hit over. We're just getting started here. So you can be part of this, and we hope this will become a big thing one day. But you can help us get started. It's free to subscribe, and when you subscribe, you'll get an alert as to when we do something. This is the Daily Hit. We've got a bunch of interview shows. And more interview shows are being planned. And those are really interesting, unique interviews. Some of the people you'll know, some of the people you won't know. But the one thing that they all have in common is they all have an interesting story to tell. And all of that is part of the Scoot on the Air YouTube channel. So just Google YouTube and, obviously if you're here, you're on YouTube. When you go to the Scoot on the Air YouTube channel, we do hope you will subscribe. So let's watch and see what the president says tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow to set the record straight.